nestled deep within the green hills of Wales, in the shadow of the Black Mountains, lies a mysterious lake called Llyn Fan Fach. For centuries, the people of the nearby village have whispered tales of strange happenings on its shores. Few dared to venture too close after dark, for they spoke of a mystical being, a figure of immense beauty and enchantment, known only as the Lady of the Lake, who was said to appear beneath the moonlit sky. One of the villagers, however, was a kind-hearted young farmer named Gwyn. He often led his flock of sheep to graze on the lush grass near the lake. Gwyn was an honest and hard-working man, but up on those quiet hills he often felt a deep sense of loneliness. He dreamt of finding a companion, someone to share his life with. One evening, as the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the valley, Gwyn sat by the water's edge, lost in thought. The air was still, and the surface of the lake was like a dark mirror reflecting the twilight sky. Suddenly, he saw something that made him catch his breath. Rising from the center of the lake was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Her hair was the color of spun gold, and her eyes shimmered like the water itself. She moved with an ethereal grace, gliding across the surface towards him. Gwyn was utterly captivated, his heart pounding in his chest. Was this the legendary Lady of the Lake? He watched, mesmerized, as she came closer. In her hand, she held a small, golden loaf of bread. As she reached the shore, she offered it to him with a gentle smile. Gwyn, though speechless with awe, reached out and took it. The bread was warm to the touch, and it smelled of honey and wildflowers. He knew in that moment that he was in the presence of someone truly magical. From that day on, Gwyn returned to the lake every single day, hoping to catch another glimpse of the enchanting lady. He would call out to her, pleading for her to return. For weeks, his calls went unanswered, and his heart grew heavy with despair. He had fallen in love with the mystical woman from the lake, and could not bear the thought of never seeing her again. Finally, one day, as he was about to give up hope, she appeared once more, rising from the depths just as she had before. This time, Gwyn found his voice. He professed his love for her and begged her to be his wife. The Lady of the Lake listened patiently, her expression unreadable. She agreed to marry him, but on 3 conditions. "I will be your wife," she said, her voice like the gentle lapping of water against the shore. "But you must never strike me 3 causeless blows. If you do, I will return to my home in the lake, and you will never see me again." Overjoyed, Gwyn eagerly promised. He swore he would never, ever lay a hand on her. And so the Lady of the Lake came to live with Gwyn in his small cottage. They were married, and their lives were filled with happiness and love. She brought with her a dowry of magical cattle whose milk was richer than any other, and their farm prospered. They had 3 sons, who grew up to be strong, wise, and kind, just like their parents. Years passed, and their love remained strong. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. One day, they were preparing to go to a christening. The lady was slow to get ready, and Gwyn, growing impatient, playfully tapped her on the shoulder to hurry her along. "Come now," he said with a laugh. She turned to him, her beautiful eyes filled with a sudden sadness. "That is the first causeless blow," she whispered. Gwyn was horrified. He hadn't meant any harm. It was just a light, loving tap. He begged for her forgiveness, and she, seeing his genuine remorse, forgave him. But a shadow had been cast over their happiness. Some time later, at a wedding celebration, the festivities were joyous and loud. But amidst all the laughter, the Lady of the Lake began to weep uncontrollably. Her tears were not of joy, but of a deep prophetic sorrow for the troubles that lay ahead for the young couple. Gwyn, embarrassed by her sudden outburst in front of everyone, gently touched her arm to quiet her. "Why do you weep at such a happy time?" he asked, his voice firm. She looked at him, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. "That is the second causeless blow," she said softly. The second warning filled Gwyn with a terrible dread. He became overly cautious, terrified of making a final, fatal mistake. He treated his wife with the utmost care, watching his every word and action. But despite his best efforts, the third blow came. It happened at a funeral. While everyone else was mourning, the Lady of the Lake suddenly burst into joyful, unrestrained laughter. Gwyn, shocked and confused by her strange behavior, lightly struck her to bring her to her senses. He couldn't understand why she would laugh at such a solemn occasion. She was laughing, she later explained, because the person being buried was now free from all their worldly pain and suffering. But it was too late. As soon as his hand touched her, she looked at him with an expression of profound finality. "The third blow has been struck," she declared. "Our time together is over. Farewell." Without another word, she turned and walked away from their home, heading back towards the mountains and the lake she came from. She called to her magical cattle, and they followed her, leaving the fields barren. Gwyn and his sons watched in helpless despair as she walked towards Llyn Waifan Fatch, waded into the water, and disappeared beneath its surface, never to be seen by her husband again. Gwyn was left heartbroken, his life empty without her. He spent the rest of his days by the lake, mourning the love he had lost. Though their mother was gone, she never completely abandoned her sons. She would sometimes appear to them, teaching them the secrets of healing with herbs and plants. Knowledge passed down from her mystical world. Her sons became the famous physicians of Midfi, renowned throughout Wales for their incredible medical skills. They passed their knowledge down through generations. And the legacy of the Lady of the Lake lived on, not in tales of lost love, but in the healing and hope she bestowed upon the people of Wales. And so, the story of Llyn Waifan Fatch serves as a timeless reminder of the delicate balance between the mortal world and the magical, and the enduring power of a mother's love. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into Welsh folklore. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more tales from myth and legend. Let me know in the comments what story you'd like to hear next. Until then, stay curious.